At 6 a.m., a deputy handed me an eviction order filed in my name. My parents watched from across the street. Smug. I calmly asked the deputy who filed it. He checked the top line, and his expression changed. The pounding on my door at 6:17 a.m. wasn't a knock. It was a battering ram made of fists and authority. Sheriff's office. Open the door. I stumbled out of bed, heart slamming against my ribs. My first thought was fire. My second thought was worse. Through the peephole, I saw a deputy in full uniform, broad shoulders, body camera, clipboard, the works. Behind him, across the street, standing on the sidewalk like spectators at a execution, were my parents, Preston Ward, Victoria Ward. My father had his hands in his pockets. My mother had her arms crossed. They were smiling. Not happy smiles, predatory music smiles. The kind of smiles that said, finally. I opened the door, chain lock still on. Rowan Sinclair? The deputy asked, using my full name, my legal name. Yes. I have a writ of possession. Court-ordered eviction. You need to vacate the premises by noon today. The word eviction hit me like a physical blow. This is my house. Music, said, voice steady, hands not. Ma'am, I'm just executing a court order. You should have listened to us. My mother shouted from across the street. This is your own fault. The deputy's eyes flicked toward them, then back to me. His expression shifted, something like discomfort. Who filed this? I asked. He checked the top line of his clipboard. His face changed completely. The plaintiffs are listed as Preston Ward and Victoria Ward. My parents had filed an eviction order on my house, the house my grandfather had left me 5 years ago. Show me the service address, I said. He turned the clipboard. I read the line. My blood went to ice. 341 Hawthorne Lane, apartment 2B, my parents' old rental. The place I'd lived in for 2 months during high school 16 years ago. That's not my address. I've never been served. Music, the deputy hesitated. According to the records, service was accepted by an adult female occupant on November 3rd, 11 days ago. I looked across the street. My mother. Music waved, small, mocking. She'd signed for papers meant for me at an address I hadn't lived at in 16 years. Hold the paper steady, I said. I pulled out my phone, photographed every page, case number, court seal, false. Address, every detail. The deputy watched me. Ma'am, you need to understand I have to follow the order. But if there's a procedural problem, you need to get to the courthouse when it opens at 8:30. I will pack your things, Rowan. My father yelled, it's over. I closed the door, locked it, put my back against it. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I grabbed my fireproof pouch from the closet. Inside, the deed to my house, my grandfather's probate documents, 5 years of property tax, receipts, my insurance policy, everything that proved this house was mine. I went out the back door, hopped the fence into Mrs. Chen's yard. She was 73 and had promised to call the police if my parents ever showed up. I wasn't going to walk past them, wasn't going to give them that satisfaction. Music. 5 years earlier, my grandfather, Silas Merrick, died on a Tuesday in March, pancreatic music cancer. 3 weeks from diagnosis to death. I was 28 years old, working as a paralegal at Hutchins and Associates in downtown Portland. $52,000 a year. Studio. Apartment in Northeast Portland that cost way too much. The funeral was small, just family, me, my parents, a few of Grandpa Silas's friends from the Elks Lodge. Afterward, his attorney, Darius Montenegro, 61, Harvard Law, 40 years practicing estate law, pulled me aside. Rowan, your grandfather left specific instructions. He wanted you to have the house, the Craftsman bungalow in Laurelhurst, 3 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, a garden in the back that Grandpa had maintained obsessively, worth approximately $425,000. Me, I said, not my parents. Your parents specifically. The will states that Preston and Music Victoria Ward are to receive nothing from the estate. I stared at him. Why? That's between your grandfather and your parents. But he was very clear. The house goes to you free and clear, no mortgage, just the property taxes and upkeep. My parents had been furious. This is ridiculous. Music. My father had said at the reading, my father leaves everything to his granddaughter and cuts us out completely. Your father made his wishes clear. Darius had replied, Rowan, you need to contest this. My mother had said, voice sweet, manipulative. It's not fair. He was. Probably confused. The cancer, he wasn't. Confused. Darius interrupted. I spoke with him extensively. He was of sound mind. This is what he wanted. I'd taken the house, moved in 3 weeks later. My parents' music stopped speaking to me for 6 months. Then they started calling. Again, small things at first. Can we have dinner? Can we talk? I'd let them back in because they were my parents. Because I wanted to believe they'd moved past it. I was wrong. Present day, 7:45 a.m. The courthouse opened at 8:30. I was music there at 7:45, sat on the steps, reviewed the photos I'd taken of the eviction order. Case number 2023 CV 18492, plaintiffs Preston Ward and Victoria Ward, defendant Rowan Sinclair, cause of action unlawful, detainer, failure to pay rent. They were claiming I was a tenant in my own house. The doors opened at 8:30. Exactly. I was first through. The clerk at the civil filing window was a woman named Jasmine Alcafor, late 20s. Efficient, kind eyes. Music, I need to file an emergency motion. I said, I was served with an eviction order this morning. False service. The address on the documents is wrong. She pulled up the case file, read. Her expression darkened. Your parents filed this? Yes. And they listed you as a tenant. I own the house. I have the date. She turned her monitor toward me. There's more. They attached a rental agreement to the initial filing. A rental agreement? I leaned closer. It was typed, professional looking, dated January 2023. Agreement between Preston Ward and Victoria Ward, landlords, and Rowan Sinclair, tenant, for the property. Located at 1847 Southeast Ankeny Street, Portland, Oregon. My address. Monthly. Rent, $2,400. Term, month to month. At the bottom, a signature. Rowan Sinclair. Except it wasn't my signature. It was close, but the R was wrong. The loop on the Y was too small. It looked like someone had practiced my signature and almost gotten it right. This is forged, I said. Jasmine nodded. There's more. She clicked through screens. 2 weeks ago, a quick claim deed was recorded transferring ownership of 1847 Southeast Ankeny Street from you to your parents. The floor tilted. I never signed a quick claim deed. It's recorded with the county, notarized, filed on November 1st. I didn't sign it. She printed it, handed it, music to me. There it was. A quick claim deed. Legal language transferring all my interest in the property to Preston and Victoria Ward. Signed, Rowan Sinclair. Notarized by Petra Yovanovich. Commission. Number 94,837. The signature was wrong. Just like the lease, close but not quite. If you want to stop this eviction, Jasmine said quietly, you need to file an emergency motion right now. Music, Judge Kerrigan has a 9:30 docket. I can get you on it if you file in the next 10 minutes. I filled out the forms in the hallway. Emergency motion to vacate default judgment. My hand shook so badly I could barely write. Listed every lie. False service at 341 Hawthorne Lane. I haven't lived there in 16 years. Forged rental music. Agreement. Forged quitclaim deed. Mother. Signed for service papers intended for me. Attached my evidence deed from 2019. Showing I own the property. Drivers. License showing my correct address. Property tax receipts I'd paid for 5 years. Filed at 9:14 a.m. Jasmine date. Stamped it. Courtroom 4. Judge Kerrigan. Be there by 9:30. 9:30 a.m. Courtroom 4. Judge Monica Kerrigan was 53 years old. Appointed to the bench in 2015. Prior. Career as a prosecutor. Reputation for not tolerating. I stood in the back of the courtroom, waiting. My parents were already there, front row, with their lawyer. His name was Thaddeus Brennan, silver hair, expensive charcoal suit, the kind of attorney who charged $450 an hour. My mother wore a soft lavender cardigan, hair done, makeup subtle. She looked music fragile, worried, like a concerned parent. My father wore slacks and a button-down, reading glasses perched on his music nose, reviewing papers. They looked respectable, reasonable. I looked like I'd been woken up by a battering ram because I had. At 9:45, the bailiff called case 2023 CV 18492. Emergency motion to vacate Sinclair v. Ward. I walked to the front. Judge Kerrigan looked at me. Miss Sinclair, you filed an emergency motion this morning. Explain why I should vacate a default judgment. Because I was never properly served, Your Honor. The plaintiff served papers at an address I don't live at. My mother signed for those papers. Music the entire. Eviction is based on false service and forged documents. Thaddeus Brennan. Stood. Your Honor, service was completed. According to Oregon Revised Statute 12.0080, the plaintiffs attempted service at the defendant's last known address. Music last known address? I interrupted. I haven't lived at that address in 16 years. Ms. Sinclair. Judge Kerrigan said sharply, don't interrupt counsel. You'll have your turn. Brennan continued. The plaintiffs acted in good faith. They attempted to serve their daughter at an address they believed was current. That's a lie, I said. Too loud, too angry. Judge Kerrigan's eyes narrowed. Miss Sinclair, control yourself. I took a breath. Your Honor, may I present evidence? Proceed. I handed the clerk my driver's license. She passed it to Music, the judge. This shows I've lived at 1847 Southeast Ankeny Street for 5 years. The address on the service papers is 341 Hawthorne Lane. I haven't lived there since I was 17 years old. Judge Kerrigan looked at my parents. Mrs. Ward, why did you sign for papers addressed to your daughter? My mother stood, voice trembling. We've been trying to reach Rowan for months. She won't return our calls. We just wanted to protect the property. She's been unstable, making bad decisions. We were worried about her. Unstable. There it was, the nuclear option. Your Honor, Brennan said smoothly, the Wards have been attempting to collect rent from their daughter for 10 months. She's refused Music to pay, refused to communicate, for eviction as a last resort. Their daughter, I said, the house is mine. I have the Music deed. Judge Kerrigan held up her hand. Mr. Brennan, the plaintiff's complaint alleges the defendant Music is a tenant, but county records show a deed transferred 2 weeks ago. Explain. MS. Sinclair signed a quitclaim deed transferring the property to her parents in exchange for debt forgiveness. I never signed a quitclaim deed, I said. It's notarized, Your Honor. Brennan handed up a copy. Judge Kerrigan examined it. Her eyes moved slowly over the signature, the notary block. Who is Petra Jovanovich? My father shifted. My mother's hand tightened on her purse. A notary public, Brennan said, licensed in Oregon, commission number 94837. Judge Kerrigan looked at me. MS. Sinclair, is this your signature? No. Your Honor, someone forged it. Your Honor, Brennan interjected. This is a serious accusation. Yes, it is, Judge. Kerrigan cut him off. Her voice was ice. Which is why I want Ms. Jovanovich in this courtroom tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. EM with her notary journal and MS. Sinclair, bring documentation showing your whereabouts on November 1st. Music, the date this deed was supposedly signed. She banged her gavel. Court is adjourned until 9 a.m. Tomorrow, the eviction is stayed pending. Resolution, 3:47 p.m. I drove to my office at Hutchins and Associates. My boss, Lenora Hutchins, 57, Yale Law, founder of the firm, listened to everything. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair. They forged a deed to steal your house. Yes, that's not just fraud. That's criminal fraud. Theft by deception. Possibly forgery in the first degree. I need proof. You need your employment records for November 1st. Can HR pull your badge access logs? Yes. She picked up her phone, called downstairs. 20 minutes later, I had a printed report. November 1st, 2023, 8:12 a.m. Badge access, main entrance. 8:47 a.m. Badge access, music conference room. 3B, 12:18 p.m. Badge access, main entrance, exit. 1:03 p.m. Badge access, main entrance, return. 5:42 p.m. Badge access, main entrance, exit. I was at work all day in Portland downtown. The quitclaim deed was notarized at 2:30 p.m. in Beaverton, 23 miles away. I couldn't have signed it. This is good. Lenora said, but you need more. You need the notary to crack. What if she doesn't? She will. Notaries keep detailed journals. Every document, every identification checked. Music, if she notarized a deed without verifying identity, she violated her commission. She could lose her license, go to jail. What if she claims she saw me? Then you show her this. Lenora tapped Music, the badge log, and you show her security camera footage from our building, and you tell her that lying to a judge is perjury. 6:23 p.m. I drove to my house. The house I'd lived in for 5 years. The house my grandfather had left me. There was a notice taped to the front door. Notice of eviction by order of the Circuit Court of Multnomah County. Rowan Sinclair is ordered to vacate the Premises at 1847 Southeast Ankeny Street. By November 15th, 2023, 12 o'clock noon p.m. Failure to comply will result in forcible removal by law enforcement. I ripped it music down, called my neighbor across the street, Marcus. Okonkwo, 43, software engineer, had lived there for 8 years. Marcus. Music, I need a favor. Anything. My parents are trying to evict me. It's fraud. Long story. But can you keep an eye on the house? If they show up, call the police immediately. Absolutely. I've got a Ring doorbell. I'll send you access so you can watch too. Thank you. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in my living room, my grandfather's living room, and thought about him. Silas Merrick, born 1942, Navy veteran. Carpenter, widower. He built half the cabinets in this house himself. Refinished the floors, planted the garden. He taught me how to use a circular saw when I was 12. Let me help him build a bookshelf. Praised my straight cuts. You've got steady hands. Rowan, he'd said, that's a rare thing. My parents had always been annoyed by our relationship by the time I spent at his music house, by the way he'd taken my side in arguments. Your grandfather coddles you, my mother had said once. He treats me like an adult, I'd replied. Maybe that's why he'd left me the house. Maybe he'd known. November 15th, 8:47 a.m. I walked into courtroom 4 with my employment records, my badge log, security camera still showing me at my office on November 1st. My parents were already seated. Music, so was Thaddeus Brennan. And in the back row, looking terrified, was Petra Jovanovic. She was maybe 50, gray-streaked dark hair, thick-framed glasses, a black leather notebook clutched her chest. Music. Judge Kerrigan took the bench at exactly 9 a.m. Miss Jovanovic stepped forward. Petra stood, walked to the front on shaking legs. Raise your right hand. She was sworn in by the bailiff. Penis. Jovanovic, you're a notary public. Licensed in Oregon? Yes, Your Honor. And you notarized a quitclaim deed on November 1st, 2023 for the property at 1847 Southeast Ankeny Street? Yes. Please provide your notary journal. Petra handed it over. Judge Kerrigan flipped through the pages, stopped. Entry dated November 1st, 2023. Quitclaim deed. Signer identified as Rowan Sinclair. She looked up. What form of identification did you verify? Petra swallowed. Oregon driver's license. What were the last 3 digits of the license number? Petra consulted her journal. 931. Judge Kerrigan looked at me. Miss Sinclair, what are the last 3 digits of your driver's license? 617. Music. Your Honor. The courtroom went silent. Judge Kerrigan's face was stone. Ms. Jovanovic, did you personally witness Rowan Sinclair sign this deed? Petra's eyes filled with tears. She looked at my parents. My mother was shaking her head. Slightly a warning. Ms. Jovanovic. The judge said, her voice sharp as glass. Answer the music question. No. Petra whispered. Speak up. No. Petra's voice broke. She started sobbing. They brought it to me already. Signed. Victoria said it was fine that Rowan had signed it at home, but needed it notarized. She showed me a driver's license. I didn't look closely. Yusti wanted to help. They're family friends. I didn't think you notarized a document without verifying the signer's identity. Judge Kerrigan's voice could have cut steel. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. That's not a mistake. That's fraud. The courtroom erupted. My mother started crying. My father stood up. Your Honor, this is a misunderstanding. Sit down, Mr. Ward. Judge Kerrigan's voice cracked like a whip. He sat. She turned to me. Ms. Sinclair, music, do you have evidence of your whereabouts on November 1st? I handed up my employment records, the badge access logs, security camera, stills. Judge Kerrigan reviewed them, passed them to Brennan. He looked at them. His face went gray. Your Honor, he said quietly, I request a recess to consult with my clients. Denied. Judge Kerrigan looked at my parents with pure contempt. This court, music, vacates the default judgment. The eviction order is dismissed. The quick claim deed recorded on November 1st is declared void and fraudulent. My mother wailed, actually wailed. I'm not finished. Music, Judge Kerrigan's voice cut through the noise. I am referring this matter to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Charges may include forgery, fraud, theft by deception, and perjury. My father's face went from red to purple. Furthermore, Ms. Sinclair is granted an immediate restraining order against Preston Ward and Victoria Ward. They are prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Ms. Sinclair or her property. Violation will result in immediate arrest. She looked at Thaddeus Brennan. Mr. Brennan, did you verify the authenticity of the documents your clients provided? Your Honor, I relied on their representations. You relied on forged documents to file an eviction. I'm sanctioning you $5,000 and reporting you to the Oregon State Bar for failure to conduct adequate due diligence. Brennan's face drained of color. Finally, Judge Kerrigan continued. Preston and Victoria Ward are ordered to pay Ms. Sinclair's attorney fees, filing costs, music, and $25,000 in emotional distress. Damages. Payment due within 30 days. She banged her gavel. This court is adjourned. The aftermath. My parents stood in the courtroom frozen. My mother was crying into her hands. My father was staring at the judge's bench like he couldn't understand what had just happened. Petra Jovanovic was being questioned by a man in a suit. Someone from the DA's office, I assumed. Thaddeus. Brennan was packing his briefcase with shaking hands. I walked past all of them, didn't look back. Outside the courtroom, Lenora Hutchins was waiting. From the gallery, she said, that was beautiful. They tried to steal my house. They failed. They're my parents. I know. We stood there in the hallway, people flowing around us, the machinery of justice grinding music on. What happens now? I asked. The DA will investigate. If they find sufficient evidence, and they will, your parents will be charged. Petra Jovanovic will likely plead guilty to notary fraud. Your parents could face felony charges. Good. Lenora looked at me. Are you sure? These are your parents. These are people who tried to make me homeless, who forged my signature, who lied to a court. They're criminals who happen to share my DNA. She nodded. Music, fair enough. 3 weeks later, the district attorney filed charges on December 5th. Count 1, forgery in the first degree. Music, felony. Count 2, theft by deception, felony. Count 3, fraud. Misdemeanor. Count 4, filing false documents, misdemeanor. Preston Ward and Victoria Ward were arrested on December 6th, booked, released on $10,000 bail. Each. Petra Jovanovic pleaded guilty to notary misconduct, lost her commission, sentenced to 100 hours of community service and 3 years probation. My parents hired a different lawyer, a criminal defense attorney named Ramona Castillo, 48, music former prosecutor, 22 years at the bar. She called me 2 weeks after the charges were filed. Miss Sinclair, I represent Preston and Victoria Ward. They'd like to speak with you. No, they want to apologize. I don't want their apology. They're willing to drop any claim to your property, sign a document acknowledging your sole ownership, pay you restitution. The court already ordered that. They're offering more $50,000 to settle this civilly and ask the DA to drop the charges. I laughed. Tell them to go to hell. Miss Sinclair, they tried to steal music, my house. They forged my signature. They lied to a judge. They can face the consequences. I hung up. 6 months later, the trial was scheduled for June. My parents took a plea deal 2 weeks before trial. Pleaded guilty to forgery in the second degree, reduced from first degree theft by deception, sentenced to 3 years. Probation, 500 hours of community service, ordered to pay $78,000 in restitution, attorney fees, court costs, emotional distress, and the fraudulent quitclaim deed filing fee. They were also ordered to have no contact with me at all ever. The restraining order became permanent. 1 year later, I still lived in my grandfather's house. My house. I'd repainted the exterior, fixed the gutters, music replanted the garden with tomatoes and basil and sunflowers. Every time I worked in that garden, I thought about Silas, about the way he taught me to prune roses, to music, stake tomatoes, to pull weeds before they choked the good plants. The garden is like life, Rowan, he'd said once. You have to tend it, pull out the bad stuff, make room for what matters. I'd pulled out the bad stuff. My parents had sent letters through their attorney, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. I'd returned them unopened. Some wounds don't heal. Some betrayals are permanent. They tried to take the one thing my grandfather had given me, the one piece of him I had left. They'd failed.